the storm inside. It's not the world that exhausts you, it's your own mind, pulling in 10 directions at once. You sit, it spins, you rest, it runs. The noise doesn't come from outside, it's built from within. Every fear, every plan, every regret you rehearse 100 times a day. You try to silence it by doing more, moving faster, filling every gap with something loud. But it doesn't stop, because it was never about activity, it was about control. A mind that's not trained will invent storms just to feel alive. It will chase, it will panic, it will burn itself just to avoid being still. That's not peace, that's escape. And the ones who never stop moving, they're not winning, they're running. From what? From themselves. Tranquility doesn't begin when the world gets quiet, it begins when you do. The root of unrest, never being still. The mind never stops, not because it's full, but because it's empty. It keeps moving because it doesn't know how to stand. When there's nothing to chase, it invents urgency. When there's nothing wrong, it looks for fear. You wake up tired, not from effort, but from noise. The noise of comparison, of craving, of spinning loops you never exit. You call it being busy, but it's just avoidance. Avoidance of stillness, of silence, of self. Most people can't sit alone for 10 minutes without reaching for something to distract them. A screen, a thought, a problem to fix that wasn't even real until they imagined it. But Seneca knew, a life that can't be still can never be tranquil. And those who fear boredom aren't awake, they're scattered. They've been taught that motion is meaning, that noise is progress, that doing more means living better. But not all motion is movement, not all progress is forward, and not all thoughts are worth keeping. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is nothing. Just sit, just breathe. Just let the dust settle without kicking it back up. Because until you learn to be still, you will never stop feeling lost. When desire splits the mind, a divided mind can never be calm. It wants, but it doesn't know what. It craves, but not with direction. It wants freedom, but also recognition. It wants simplicity, but also more. It says yes to everything, and wonders why it never feels whole. Seneca knew, desire doesn't just pull you forward, it pulls you apart. You choose one path, but your heart still lingers in the one you didn't take. You get what you wanted, but mourn what you didn't choose. And so you live split, always second-guessing, never arriving, never at peace. The problem isn't choice, it's attachment. You think you can have all versions of yourself. You think you can chase every door without closing any. But tranquility begins when you let some doors lock. Not from lack, but from decision. To want fewer things. To want them fully. To stop scattering your soul across 100 unfinished lives. You don't need more options, you need more conviction. Because a mind that keeps changing direction never arrives, it just wears itself out in circles. Want less, choose sharper, and stay. The weight of possessions, every item you own owns a piece of you. Not just space, but attention. Not just money, but mind. Seneca said it clear. The more you have, the more you have to fear. Fear of losing, fear of lacking, fear of falling from the place you built too high. And so instead of resting, you guard. Instead of breathing, you count. You live not with freedom, but with fragility. Because when your peace depends on what can be taken, then your peace was never yours. They say wealth brings security, but often it brings surveillance. Every gain becomes a gate, every upgrade another anchor. You buy comfort, but trade clarity. You buy more time, but spend it maintaining the things that cost you peace. Tranquility doesn't come from abundance, it comes from detachment. To have what's needed, to use what you must, and to let the rest return to dust. Own little, serve fewer things, and what remains will serve you. Not because it's yours, but because it no longer owns you. Finding purpose in stillness. The world shames stillness, calls it laziness, weakness, failure to keep up. But Seneca saw deeper. Stillness is not retreat, it's strategy. Not every fight requires a sword. Not every day demands noise. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is not move. Not because you're afraid, but because you see. You see the chaos, you see the traps, you see the cost of running without reason. Stillness is not absence, it's intention. To pause, to assess, to ask, is this mine to carry? Most people keep moving because stopping feels wrong, like they're falling behind, like they'll vanish if they're not seen. But movement without meaning is just decay in motion, and noise without clarity is just a loud form of confusion. Stillness isn't doing nothing, it's doing only what matters. It's standing where you belong while the world forgets where it's going. So if you must stop, stop. But stop with purpose. Let your stillness speak with more force than their frenzy ever could. On public life and inner duty, not everyone is called to the center of the world. Not every life must be lived in public. Seneca knew, greatness isn't volume, it's vertex. The quiet peak that doesn't need a crowd. Some fight in the arena, others fight in the shadows, but both can bleed, both can win. To step back doesn't mean to give up, it means to realign, to ask, where can I serve best? Where is my effort not wasted in noise, but focused in depth? Public life demands energy, but not all energy belongs there. Sometimes your duty is to fortify the wall within, to teach not by speech, but by stillness, to influence not through reach, but through how you hold yourself when no one is asking you to. You may not write laws, but you can live by one. You may not lead cities, but you can rule your mind. The world doesn't need more noise, it needs more presence. And if yours must happen in silence, so be it. Let your quiet be the strongest stand you take. Practice the art of letting go. What hurts is not what's gone, it's what you refuse to release. Loss is natural, attachment is taught, and the tighter you grip, the more it cuts. Seneca didn't fear losing, he feared depending. Depending on what fades, what breaks, what never truly belonged to you. To suffer less, you must let go faster. Let go of outcomes, of control, of people who don't stay, of versions of yourself you've already outgrown. Letting go isn't defeat, it's discipline. The strength to say, this no longer serves me, this no longer shapes me, this may have mattered, but it doesn't define me. Most people drag their past like armor that doesn't fit. But the warrior travels light, not because he has less, but because he's free. To release is not to forget, it's to stop bleeding over what's already done. You don't need closure, you need clarity, and that only comes when you choose to carry nothing but what still builds you. So drop the weight, let it fall. You're still here, and that's enough to begin again. Silence escape. Silence is not weakness, it's not surrender, it's not fear, it's strength that no longer needs to shout. Seneca understood this. The one who is loudest is not always the one who's right, only the one who's restless, but the one who is quiet has already decided. Silence isn't hiding, it's holding. Holding position, holding center, holding fire without letting it escape through the mouth. The world rewards noise, distraction, performance, but tranquility lives in unseen, unspoken, undisturbed. To be silent doesn't mean you're absent, it means you're present at a depth most cannot reach. Still, focused, unshaken, people will try to provoke you, to pull you, to demand reaction. But you don't owe them sound, you owe yourself peace. So stay quiet, not because you have nothing to say, but because you don't need to say it. Stillness is not withdrawal, it's mastery. The kind that can see everything, feel everything, and still choose not to be moved by any of it. How to train the mind. You train your body. Why not your mind? You lift weight to grow stronger. You run to build endurance. You breathe to recover, but your thoughts, you let them run wild. You let them interrupt, overtake, control. Seneca didn't let his mind wander. He let it because a mind that isn't trained will follow anything. Fear, fantasy, fiction. And the cost isn't stress, it's direction. You lose your edge not from weakness, but from scattering. So train it to pause, to observe before reacting, to endure the silence without filling it with noise. Train it to focus, not on everything, but on one thing that matters. Train it to drop what doesn't serve, to rest without guilt, to think without spiraling. The untrained mind looks for stimulation. The trained mind creates meaning. This is how tranquility is earned, not through retreat, but through refinement. A daily sharpening, a daily cutting away of what is not essential, until your mind becomes what it was meant to be. Steady, clear, ready. The final tranquility when nothing moves you, you've arrived. Not because the world is quiet, but because you are. Seneca knew, peace isn't passive, it's power held without display. The truly tranquil mind doesn't need escape. It doesn't hide in the woods or run from the city. It simply exists on its own terms. It's been tested, fractured, tempted, but it stayed. It watched desire come and go, watched loss come and go, watched every storm pass without chasing, without clinging. And now, it doesn't fear the next wave, because it no longer fears the ocean. This is the final form, not control, but release. Not numbness, but non-reactivity. You don't need the world to agree. You don't need the outcome to favor you. You don't even need things to make sense. You just need to stand while everything else keeps moving. And in that stillness, you become untouchable. Not because you won, but because you stopped needing to.